He explains that he gave up long ago, convinced the treasure is nothing more than a myth created to distract the country's enemies. Ben ignores his father's frustration and examines the back of the Declaration of Independence. He discovers hidden codes that connect directly to words found in the letters. He once again asks Patrick for the letters, but his father tells him they were donated to a museum in Philadelphia. With no other choice, Ben leaves with Abigail and Riley. When the FBI arrive at Patrick's house later, they find him tied to a chair. Patrick claims his son did this before stealing his car. Sadusky immediately orders his men to track the vehicle. At the same time, Ian realizes the clue from the pipe on the ship is linked to the same letters. Learning that copies are kept in Philadelphia, he heads there as well. Rather than solving the next clue themselves, Riley recruits a clever schoolboy to help decode it. Ian also arrives in Philadelphia right on time. As the schoolboy heads off to meet Riley, he accidentally bumps into Ian, drawing his attention. Later, when the boy begins decoding the final word on a piece of paper, Ian notices what he is doing. He quietly follows the boy outside, hoping for him. However, by the time Ian makes his move, Riley has already left the building. Having worked out the last word on his own, Riley quickly meets up with Ben and Abigail and explains the coded message he uncovered from the letters. Together, they realize the message points.
A young man gets thrown into a prison filled with hardened criminals. Inside, he's brutally beaten, tormented, and left half dead. But this kid refuses to stay down. He gets back up and takes his revenge on everyone who wronged him. The story is absolutely thrilling. Our story opens with 19-year-old JR heading to prison for a petty crime. His cellmate is a timid, terrified young man. Inside, JR's head gets shaved. The facility is packed with hardened criminals. JR watches as several of these dangerous inmates forcibly drag his cellmate away. His gaze then shifts to an inmate named Brandon, who's playing chess. JR tells him, "That move's gonna cost you the game." Brandon responds, "Show me." So JR checkmates him in just 3 moves. He mentions to Brandon, "I've read about you." But Brandon shuts him down quickly, saying, "I'm nobody." Moments later, JR's cellmate emerges from behind them. Back in their cells, the cellmate starts sharpening a toothbrush into a makeshift weapon. JR warns him, "That won't save you." The reality is, those inmates have been abusing JR's cellmate, and he's reached his limit. The following day, when they come for him again, JR deliberately starts a brawl near his cellmate to grab the guard's attention and protect his roommate. However, this lands JR in solitary confinement. When he's finally released, Brandon cautions him, "Stay out of other people's business." Meanwhile, those same brutal inmates continue tormenting his cellmate. That night, unable to take it anymore, JR's cellmate slits his own throat. JR immediately calls for the guards, but he's already lost too much blood. There's nothing they can do. The inmates responsible approach JR and say, "See you around." So JR sharpens his own toothbrush, ready to defend himself. Sure enough, those inmates come after him, but Brandon intervenes and rescues him. His crew sends those criminals running. Brandon explains that a sharpened toothbrush won't protect you from these animals, but he can handle the situation. In exchange, he'll need JR's help once he's on the outside. Brandon's serving 20 years without parole, and he has no intention of finishing that sentence. JR asks, "What if I refuse?" Brandon replies, "Those guys are seriously dangerous. You'll need more than a toothbrush." He tells JR to think it over. JR spends the entire night weighing his options. But the very next day, those men grab him. They drag him into a room, planning to assault him. Just in time, Brandon and his crew burst in. Brandon pulls JR to safety and leads him downstairs. Meanwhile, his crew throws the ringleader of those vicious inmates off the rooftop, killing him instantly. 6 months pass, and JR walks out of prison. He goes directly to a man named Sam and delivers Brandon's letter. Sam tells his nephew Josh to hand JR a suitcase. Josh clearly has an attitude toward JR. He shows him to his new place, a luxurious beachfront apartment. JR opens the suitcase. Inside are Brandon's passports and a gun. Right then, a girl named Tasha walks in to use the bathroom. Seeing her, JR quickly throws on his shirt. He offers her a beer, but she's there to deliver cash and a phone. She instructs him to wait for it to ring. Over the following days, under Sam's direction, JR purchases illegal firearms and learns how to handle them. One morning, lets JR into the pool. JR can't swim and begins to drown. Tasha dives in and pulls him out. Brandon stops JR from retaliating against Josh. JR leaves the gathering alone, but Tasha pulls up in a car and picks him up. They head to a restaurant. Tasha makes it clear she's not sleeping with Sam. She's only with him because Sam thinks it makes him look powerful. She's an immigrant who needs Sam to remain in the country. She can't just leave. Sam had the last girl who tried that kill. JR's in a similar situation. Last time he His father gave him a scar as a Christmas present. The next day, Brandon confronts JR. What did you do last night? He gives him a clear warning to stay away from Tasha, or Sam won't let him live. Focus on the job. They relocate to a different spot. Brandon lays out his entire plan to JR. He meets with a racer friend who'll serve as their getaway driver. Brandon explains the operation to everyone, but Sam insists, my nephew Josh will stay near the gold instead of JR. Josh mocks JR, saying, don't cry about it. Another fight breaks out between them. JR heads to a club where some guys are harassing Tasha. He scares them off and saves her. But Tasha doesn't think he's being smart. What if they call the cops? Tasha and JR secretly meet at a beach, away from Sam's eyes. Tasha wades into the water. JR strips down but hesitates because he can't swim. Tasha still beckons him closer. JR explains, when I was a kid, my dad got the stupid idea that the best way to learn swimming was to chuck me overboard. But JR nearly drowned. They wake up together the next morning. JR notices a necklace around Tasha's neck. She calls it her good luck charm and places it on JR. He says, we're going to get that gold, and then you and I are running off together. But Tasha doesn't believe it'll actually happen. Later, Brandon's furious with JR for showing up late. They all arrive at a mining facility. Using fake IDs, they gain entry. They access the gold room through an air vent. Brandon encourages JR, saying, you can do this. While Tasha's packing her bag, a man enters. He tells Tasha to make coffee, and while she's gone, he inspects her packed bag. The man picks up a belt and says, you're not going anywhere, my little pet. He begins beating Tasha. He won't let her escape. He just keeps hitting her. Tasha strikes him with an iron and flees. She texts JR, run. Sam set you up? It turns out the police have already arrived at Brandon's house. Brandon calls Sam, but he says, I don't know who you are. So Brandon and JR arrive at a gravesite. Brandon digs up some cash he buried there, enough to get them to Melbourne. Meanwhile, as Tasha's running, JR texts her to meet him on a train. Tasha and JR meet on board. Brandon's also traveling on the same train. Brandon and JR reach Melbourne, pay a contact, and discover Sam's location where he'll hand the gold over to the Russian mob. On TV, news about JR and Brandon is playing. Their photos are being broadcast. Right there, Brandon tells Tasha to mail an envelope, and when she refuses, he slaps her. Seeing this, JR attacks Brandon. But Brandon's stronger. JR says, I'm done with you. Brandon shouts, what are you going to do? Run away with that girl? He says, I've seen too many good men do.
Ano problema mo? Palagi kang nakasunod. Talaga